Someone you know disappeared for about 6 months. Not completely. Their name's still lit up on your phone, just later than before. And with fewer words. They stopped posting. Every answer about what they were doing ended one sentence early. Then they came back different. Not transformed. Settled. Like a decision had been made in a room nobody else entered. You assumed they had been struggling. There is a reasonable chance they were building. Here is what makes this hard to think about clearly. Going quiet while you change can be the smartest thing you ever do. There is a real mechanism behind it. But the same silence can also be the thing that guarantees you never finish, because a rebuild nobody can see is a rebuild nobody can correct. Same behavior, two completely different outcomes. Privacy is a strategy. Secrecy is usually a hiding place. And the cleanest way to tell them apart is this: privacy limits access by design. Secrecy makes disclosure conditional on success. Which points at the one detail you could not see from outside. Whether nobody knew or one person did, that difference decides whether silence protects a rebuild or gives it somewhere private to die. So before any of the psychology, here is the tool. One sentence, said to exactly one person. I'm working on something for the next 30 days. I'm not going to tell you what it's for. I'm going to tell you whether I did it. That sentence keeps almost everything the secrecy was giving you, and removes the one thing it was quietly taking. You will see exactly why by minute 5. That is rule 1 of 5. The other 4, and the ledger that makes them work, are at the end. In between 3 mechanisms, because if you do not know why you went quiet, you will not know when to stop. This is peak protocol. Number 008. The quiet rebuild. Mechanism 1. Announcing it spends part of the reward for doing it. In 2009, Peter Gallwitzer and colleagues published a study in Psychological Science with a title that gives away the finding: when intentions go public. They took people with identity-relevant goals, becoming a lawyer, becoming a psychologist, and split them. For one group, the intention was acknowledged by somebody else. For the other, it was not. The group whose intention had been acknowledged then put in less effort toward it, and they reported feeling closer to already possessing the identity they were working toward. Not closer to achieving it. Closer to already being it. Being seen intending something can deliver part of the payoff of having done it. Second, I want to be precise about the scope, because this gets repeated online as never tell anyone your goals, and that is not what the study shows. It is about identity-relevant intentions, acknowledged by an audience. It is one line of research. The size of the effect is still argued about. And other work suggests that sharing a goal with the right person can add support rather than subtract effort. It is a mechanism, not a law. But the practical line it draws is useful. Test it on yourself tonight. I'm going to get in shape, spend something. I train today does not. The first is an identity, claimed in advance. The second is a completed behavior, reported after the fact. The danger was never talking. The danger is being rewarded for who you intend to become, before the behavior exists. Hold on to that distinction. It becomes rule 2. Mechanism 2. The people who know you are holding a previous version of you in place, and most of them do not know they are doing it. 2 things happen when a change is watched by people who knew the earlier you. The first is that you start editing the attempt. Every rebuild has a stage that looks incompetent. The first month of anything is clumsy, slow, and slightly embarrassing. That stage is not optional, it is where the learning is. but it does not survive being watched by people who have opinions about you. So you skip it, or you polish it, or you only attempt the parts that already look like something. The second is quieter and more uncomfortable. The people around you have a stake in the current arrangement. Not out of malice, almost never. But a change in you forces a change in them. Who organizes things? Who gets called first? Who is the reliable one? And who is the one being worried about? Their resistance almost never arrives as opposition. It arrives as concern. You have watched this happen to somebody else. A person announces they are cutting back on drinking, and the group does not argue, they just keep the invitations coming. Slightly warmer than before. Somebody starts a business and every conversation becomes a series of very reasonable questions about the risk. Nobody in that room is trying to stop anything. They are each restoring a system that has been quietly disturbed. The most dangerous sentence in a rebuild is, "That doesn't sound like you." It is usually said with love. And it is usually accurate, which is exactly the problem. So the instinct to go quiet is not paranoia. And it is not arrogance. It is an accurate read of a real cost. Which is why the protocol at the end does not ask you to announce anything. Mechanism 3. And this is the uncomfortable one. Stay for this specifically, because it is the one the first two are protecting. There are two versions of going quiet, and from the inside they feel exactly the same. The first is privacy. Access is limited by design. You chose who knows. The choice is serving the work, and you could widen it tomorrow without flinching. The second is secrecy. Nobody knows, and nobody is allowed to know until it succeeds. Both of them look like a person quietly working. Both of them can be described, honestly, with the same sentence, "I just don't want to talk about it yet." One question separates them, and it takes about 4 seconds. Answer it silently. About whatever you are currently not telling people. If this fails, does anybody ever find out? If the honest answer is no, then you have not built a private project. You have built a project that is only allowed to become visible if it succeeds. And that changes what a setback is. The first serious setback now carries 2 threats at once. The work might fail, and the hidden attempt might be exposed. That is the point where quitting starts to feel safer than continuing. So you quit early, quietly, and because nobody knew you started, the exit leaves no evidence behind. And if you have done this more than once, you know the strangest part? The quitting does not feel like quitting, the thing simply stops being relevant. You get busy. Priorities shift. There is no moment you can point to where you decided, which is precisely what makes it repeatable. You did not hide the work, you hid the possibility of failing at it. And that is a loop with the same shape as every other one on this channel. It cannot be disproven from the inside. If you succeed, the secrecy looks like it worked. If you quit, nobody was watching, so nothing happened. Either way, the strategy survives, and either way you learn nothing. 3 costs, then the protocol. Cost 1. Nothing corrects it. Effort does not become progress on its own. It becomes progress when evidence or somebody qualified shows you the gap between the work you are producing and the standard you declared. A project nobody can see drifts, and it drifts slowly enough that you will not notice for months, because the only instrument measuring it is the same mind that chose the direction. Hold on to this one, the protocol has to answer it. Cost 2. Skipping leaves no evidence. You may still have a calendar, a plan, a deadline, even money already paid. Secrecy does not remove structure. What it removes is observability, the small social cost of having to report that the work did not happen. On the days you do not feel like it, and there will be more of those, the only thing between you and skipping is how you feel at 8 in the evening. And a skip day in a hidden project leaves no trace, which makes the next one cheaper. That is what accountability actually does. And it is smaller than people think. It does not make you want it more. It puts one moment of external friction between the urge to skip and the ability to pretend nothing happened. Not inspiration. Friction. Applied in the right place. Cost 3. Your right to be seen trying becomes conditional on success. If the plan is to reveal this when it is finished, ask what finished means. Rebuilds do not have a finish line. There is no morning where the new version is complete and certified. So the reveal keeps moving. 6 months becomes 2 years. You end up carrying something valuable that nobody ever gets to see, including you. People do not usually abandon the rebuild. They abandon the reveal, and then the rebuild quietly stops mattering. And by then the work is no longer the only thing at risk. Your right to be seen trying, just trying, has become conditional on succeeding. That is the heaviest cost on this list. Protocol number 008. The quiet rebuild. 30 days. The whole thing rests on one idea. We are not going to make you announce anything. We are going to make the silence bounded and the failure survivable. Same architecture as number 007 if you have seen it. There, we put a floor and a ceiling on space. Here, we put a floor and a ceiling on privacy. The floor is one person. The ceiling is 30 days. And I need to be exact here, the same way I was in number 007, because neither of those numbers is a scientific threshold. Both are design decisions. One witness is the smallest audience that creates observability without turning the rebuild into a performance. 30 days is the longest review window this protocol allows. The mechanisms explain why the floor cannot be 0 and why the ceiling cannot be indefinite. The protocol chooses the numbers. I am not going to dress a design decision up as a finding. 30 days is not a deadline for finishing. The person at the start took 6 months, but the duration tells you nothing about whether it was strategy or disappearance. 30 days is the longest you are allowed to go without reviewing whether the privacy is still serving the work. 6 quiet months with a witness and a review every 30 days is a strategy. 6 quiet months with neither is a disappearance. 5 rules. Rule 1. The one witness. Exactly one person. Not nobody. And not a group. Do not choose by closeness. Choose by 3 properties neutral enough to have no stake in the old version of you, discreet enough to hold it, competent enough to recognize bad direction when they see the work. That often points slightly outward. A former colleague, someone 2 circles out. Not because the people closest to you care less, but because they care in a way that is entangled with who you already were. 1 honest boundary. If the rebuild changes shared money, shared time, or shared responsibilities, privacy does not remove your obligation to tell the people it affects. You are allowed to keep the project quiet. You are not allowed to make someone else pay for it in the dark. Then the sentence you already have: I'm working on something for the next 30 days. I'm not going to tell you what it's for. I'm going to tell you whether I did it. Notice what it withholds and what it does not. What it's for stays hidden: the goal, the identity, the person you are trying to become. What the witness does get, before day 1, is the behavior you are tracking and the standard you are aiming at. 800 words a day. 4 training sessions a week. They cannot spot drift in work they know nothing about. You keep the privacy that matters. You lose the invisibility that was killing the project. One more instruction. Given to the witness, directly skip it, and they will do the natural thing and undo the rule. Don't cheer, and don't ask what this is supposed to make me become. Confirm the daily report. On days 10 and 20. Critique only the work I show you. The risk was never encouragement itself. It is being rewarded for the identity before the behavior exists. So the daily reply stays neutral, one word. Noted. The technical questions wait for calibration day. The daily report is Rule 2, and on 2 days out of the 30, the witness does more than confirm receipt. That becomes Rule 3. Rule 2. Report the evidence, not the identity. Every day, you send one line, the completed behavior, with a number attached where one exists. Trained 40 minutes. Wrote 800 words. Made the call. Never. I'm becoming someone who trains. Never. I'm turning my life around. Identity claims collect applause. Evidence just accumulates. And on the days you did nothing? You still send the line, nothing today, ... That message costs you something to type, which is exactly the point. Silence is not an allowed report. The skipped day now leaves a trace, and that trace is the friction from cost 2. Rule 3. Calibrate at 10 and 20. Twice in the 30 days, on day 10 and on day 20, you show the witness one real thing, one artifact, or one objective number, a page, a recording, a total, and you ask one question: what am I not seeing? They do not need to know who you are trying to become. They know the behavior, the standard, and the evidence. That is enough to tell you whether the work is improving or merely accumulating. This is the rule that answers cost 1. The daily reports keep you honest. The calibrations keep you pointed somewhere. A witness who only ever says noted is a mirror. On those 2 days, the mirror becomes an instrument. Rule 4. Write the failure clause before day 1. One sentence. What you will say if it does not work. Written now, while nothing is at stake and you are not defending anything. Something with this shape. I tried this for 30 days. It did not do what I wanted. Here's what I would change. Then read it on the worst day. There will be an obvious candidate. This is the rule that dismantles mechanism 3. In the secrecy version, the work is not the only thing being hidden. The possibility of being seen failing is hidden with it. Mostly because nobody ever decides what failing out loud sounds like. Once the sentence exists, being seen not finishing stops being an unknown, and the whole justification for the secrecy quietly loses its job. Rule 5. The ledger. Same instrument as every protocol on this channel. 4 fields, 90 seconds a day. The date, the evidence, the verb, and the number. If the day was empty, write nothing, and notice that you already sent that word to somebody. The report sent or missed. This field checks whether the protocol is actually running, because a rebuild can go private again by stopping its reports before it stops its work. And field 4, what made you want to hide the work that day or show it ... If neither urge appeared, write none. A forced answer is worse than an empty field. Field 4 is the one that does the work. It will feel pointless for about a week. The timeline. Everything structural happens before day 1. Before day 1, choose the witness. say the sentence, tell them the behavior and the standard, set the review date 30 days out, and write the failure clause. All of it. The build starts with the scaffolding already up. Days 1 to 10 do the work. Send the line every day. Keep the ledger. On day 10, the first calibration 1 artifact, 1 question. Days 11 to 20 keep reporting. Read the failure clause. On the worst day of the block, there will be one. On day 20, the second calibration. Days 21 to 30. Keep the commitment exactly as it is. No new rules, no renegotiation. Use the last days to prepare the review. Day 30. Give the witness an honest status report before you choose what happens next. What you attempted, what happened, and what failed. Then reveal, revise, or begin another 30-day cycle. Any of the 3 is allowed. Renewal without an honest status report is not. That is how privacy quietly turns back into secrecy. First 10 days, you create evidence. Second 10, you let the work be corrected. Last 10, you prevent privacy from silently renewing itself. And when the 30 days are up, interrogate field 4. I am not going to tell you what you will find. I am going to tell you where to look. Read every entry in one sitting, every urge to hide, and every urge to show. Then sort them into 2 piles. The ones that were about protecting the work, and the ones that were about protecting yourself from being watched, not finishing it. Whatever the ratio turns out to be, that is the most honest measurement you will get of what the silence was actually for. Going quiet while you rebuild is not cowardice. It is often the correct move. But protection without review quietly becomes permission to disappear. Think about the last thing you stopped telling people about. What did you think would happen if they knew? If keeping it quiet is what let you actually start, then the silence did its job. That is strategy, not shame, and it does not need to be apologized for. But the protocol asks one harder question. Are you protecting the work or protecting yourself from being seen not finishing it? 1 witness. A line a day. A calibration at 10 and 20. A review at 30. And a sentence written in advance for the version where it does not work. Number 008. The quiet rebuild. Pick the witness tonight. Not the goal, the witness. The goal you already have. You have had it for a while.